Today we're going to talk about how do you become Catholic. How does one become Catholic? Let's go into it. So I'm going to go through the list and then quickly explain it. And then at the very end, I'm going to explain the justification for this process and why we may be different from other denominations in terms of this, because this is not a short thing. The first step is called the period of evangelization, or the pre-catechumenate. This is where the person looking to come into the church does soul searching. Do I want to have a strong relationship with Christ and his church? Do I want to do this process? Do I want to follow God's will? Those deep questions, the initial questions are asked and answered and addressed by the person. So this is the state that the person is in, but this is the period that we call it. The next, after meeting the priest or RCIA director or someone in charge of bringing people into the fold, when they talk to them, they become now notated as an inquirer, someone who's clearly asking, wanting to look into it, not necessarily in, but is clearly interested in what might happen. So the next stage, if they choose to commit, is called the period of the catechumenate. Now this period, just like the period of evangelization, could take years, because what's happening here is you're learning about the faith. You're learning about the 2,000 years of history. You're learning about obviously the Bible, the Sacraments, many of the solid foundations of the church is what you're learning, and you're digesting, and you're comparing it to the former life the life that you're trying to get away from and the life you're trying to get into, and you're trying to see where that gels with you, so to speak. It's not a matter of compromise. It's a matter of submission, and it's a matter of understanding, because you're taking how you've lived your life based off your previous preconceived notions, and you're going up against natural law and holy law, and you're seeing where it all falls out. So there's then the rite of the elect. That's where the person has chosen that they want to go through the final processes of becoming Catholic and going to the rite of initiation, or the rites of initiation. So this will typically happen just before Lent, and then at Lent it's the period of purification and enlightenment. This is the point where you're really testing yourself with those tenets that you have committed to. You are internally in line with, as in like your disposition is in line with the church, and you're trying to fit your life to that style. So you're going to Mass every Sunday, you're following the rubrics of the church. You haven't yet been given the graces from the sacraments yet, but you are disposing yourself to those norms, and you are preparing yourself like one prepares a temple to receive the Holy Spirit in a very special and unique way. So the last part is the celebration of the sacraments. So at the Easter Vigil, after the Lent, you are initiated. If you haven't been baptized, you're baptized. If you haven't been confirmed, you're confirmed. And then during communion, you receive communion for the first time. And so that ends RCIA. That ends becoming Catholic. You are now initiated into the Catholic Church. You've done everything in regards to the steps of initiation, and you're in the process of making yourself holier through sanctifying grace, and walking your way towards sainthood. So this is just a brief understanding of how one becomes Catholic. There's a very clear direction. The thing is, like I said, it doesn't just take a Sunday. It's not just one random Sunday. It is a Sunday set apart from the rest, which is Easter, and that all other Sundays reflect. In the early church, so this goes to the understanding of where this came from. The early church, they had the same thing, and you could argue they had different reasons. So when persecution was happening, you wanted to make sure people were trustworthy, but you also wanted to know that they knew what they were signing up for. You don't want to just sign up someone, especially with a commitment being adopted. Baptism makes you an adopted son or daughter of God. That's a pretty big commitment. Okay, it's a very good thing, but it's a pretty big commitment. If you don't know what you're committing yourself to, you can end up failing very easily, because you're just not there from a mental standpoint, and that has to take root, and that's important, because you don't want someone to just say, well, I'm going to just go in on a whim, on a feeling. You need to have a sense of certainty that what you're getting into is really what you want to get into. And that way you're not just going to throw it off when things get hard. I mean, right now is a perfect example of when things are getting really hard in the church. And so when those people come up, when you ask them some things that are controversial in the political spectrum, or just how the bishops are right now as a general trust factor, you're going to have varying levels of distrust and not a whole lot of agreement from a lot of people who are not Catholic. Just baptizing them or confirming into the faith just willy-nilly, just because it sounds like a good thing, is not very prudent, because for all we know, they're just going to go back to what they were doing. And now they've been baptized, but they haven't disposed themselves correctly to walking in the way of God. And they're not open to the graces that God is willing to give them. So that's kind of the gist of it, but I think it's very important that gets through, because it's not just about doing the sacraments. It's also about committing yourself to the sacraments only work if you're open to them. And so that goes with the rest of this discipleship of Christ. If you're not open to God, to what's being asked of you, you're going to have a hard time. So if you like this video, if you want more videos like this, let me know. Give me some suggestions. Please like, subscribe. Obviously, I'm just starting out, but it's something I have a real passion for, and I've been meaning to do it for about a year. So hope you liked it. Have a good day.